John 19th. The Crucifixion of the King. Pilate, torn between politics and truth, finally gave in to the pressure of the crowd. He ordered that Jesus be flogged. The soldiers took him and beat him savagely. They twisted together a crown made of thorns and pressed it onto his head. They threw a purple robe around his shoulders, mocking him as a false king. Again and again they came before him, sneering, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and struck him across the face. Then Pilate brought him out before the people once more and said, "I bring him to you so that you may know. I find no basis for a charge against him." Jesus appeared before the crowd, the thorns upon his brow, the robe draped across his wounded body. And Pilate declared, "Behold the man!" But the moment the chief priests and officials saw him, they began to shout, "Crucify! Crucify him!" Pilate tried again. "You take him and crucify him. I find no fault in him." But the leaders insisted, "We have a law, and by that law he must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, a chill ran through his heart. He went back inside and asked Jesus, "Where do you come from?" But Jesus gave him no answer. "Do you refuse to speak to me?" Pilate demanded. "Don't you realize I have the power to free you or crucify you?" Jesus lifted his gaze and said quietly, "You would have no power over me unless it were given to you from above. The one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." From that moment, Pilate sought to release him, but the crowd roared louder, "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar." Trapped by fear and politics, Pilate brought Jesus out to the judge's seat, a place called the Stone Pavement, Golgotha. It was the day of preparation about noon. "Here is your king," Pilate declared. But the crowd shouted back, "Take him away! Crucify him!" "Shall I crucify your king?" Pilate asked. And the chief priests cried out, "We have no king but Caesar." And so Pilate handed him over to be crucified. The Crucifixion. The soldiers led Jesus away. Carrying his own cross, he walked the long road to the place of the skull. In Aramaic, Golgotha. There they nailed him to the cross. 2 others were crucified beside him, one on his left and one on his right. Pilate ordered a sign to be placed above his head. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." The sign was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek, so that everyone could read it. The chief priests objected. "Do not write the King of the Jews, but this man claimed to be King of the Jews." Pilate replied coldly, "What I have written, I have written." As the soldiers crucified him, they divided his clothing among themselves, but when they came to his seamless tunic, woven from top to bottom, they said, "Let's not tear it. Let's cast lots to see who will get it." And thus, the scripture was fulfilled. "They divided my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing." Near the cross stood Jesus' mother, and beside her, the disciple whom he loved. Looking down in his agony, Jesus said to her, "Woman, behold your son." Then to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that moment, the disciple took her into his home. The death of Jesus. Later, knowing that all things had been completed, and that scripture might be fulfilled, Jesus said, "I am thirsty." A jar of sour wine was nearby. They soaked a sponge and lifted it to his lips on a stalk of hyssop. After receiving it, Jesus said, "It is finished." Then bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. The earth fell silent. It was the day of preparation, and the next day was a special Sabbath. The Jewish leaders did not want bodies left hanging on the crosses, so they asked Pilate to have the legs broken and the bodies taken down. The soldiers broke the legs of the men on either side of him, but when they came to Jesus and saw he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Instead, one of them pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water flowed out. The one who saw this has testified, and his testimony is true, that you also may believe. For Scripture had said, 'Not one of his bones will be broken,' and they will look on the one they have pierced." The burial. Later, Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of Jesus, though secretly for fear of the leaders, went to Pilate to ask for his body. With Pilate's permission, he came and took Jesus down from the cross. Nicodemus came too, the one who had met Jesus by night. He brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds. Together they wrapped the body of Jesus with the spices in strips of linen, according to Jewish custom. At the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden, a new tomb, one that had never been used. Because the Sabbath was near and the tomb was close by, they laid Jesus there. The stone rolled across the entrance, and the world held its breath. What can we learn from this story? In John 19, we witness the ultimate paradox. The King of Heaven crowned with thorns, the giver of life nailed to a cross, the innocent condemned, so that the guilty might go free. Even in silence, Jesus ruled. Even in suffering, he fulfilled divine purpose. And when he spoke the words, "It is finished," he declared victory, not defeat. When life presses you with injustice, betrayal, or pain, will you trust that even in the silence, God is still completing his plan through you, just as he did through his Son?